All right, here we are with the first ever Merriwether's World show, where ego and technology meet without a net. So, in the words of many mad scientists, what could possibly go wrong? All right, so tonight it's kind of a freeform thing. Not really sure what's going on. So, my basic plan is to just answer people's questions. And I see people here. We got Tina, we got Joe. Word about Joe, I've known him for 20 years. He used to be a kid. He's not a kid anymore. And then Tina is one of my biggest fans. If you need some herbal knowledge, she's a pretty good backup source. I've been working with her for quite a while. Anyone else coming on, or is it just these two? Okay, it's just these two. That's okay. Yeah. About the opening music, I should mention again that that was the Blue Wave Theory Road Hazard of the from Free Music Archive, and it's hard to get this right, using the Share Alike Creative Commons license. So, little known fact, surf rock is the #1 music choice of werewolves, both domestic and foreign. Proof? Go Google it. Okay, hey, Carrie. Hi, Carrie. Carrie has a goat for her icons. I'm hoping that means she raises goats, because people who raise goats are generally cool. And Wayne Walker, I think I know him from way back, too. So basically, it's like a gathering of my friends who I don't get to see much anymore, because I'm constantly doing this sort of thing. Okay, so again, any questions from the studio audience of 4 people? Otherwise, I'm just going to have to babble and drink my drink. So, nothing yet. So, I prepared for this sort of thing in case no one actually had any questions. I thought, well, let's kind of give them some of the answers to questions I normally get at classes. Hey, it's Bethany from North Mississippi. Cool. And Fatty. Awesome. We're actually getting people. But that's not going to stop my plan of answering a question. One of the biggest questions I get is, how do I know a plant is edible? And so, hey, Michelle, long time no see, and Whitsley. Anyway, how do I know a plant is edible? First thing, when I discover a new plant, one that I haven't before, I spend a lot of time just identifying it. There's a number of good resources, books, Google, a lot of different things, but by matching a bunch of characteristics of the plant. So the leaf shape, the edge of the leaf, how the leaves are arranged on the plant, what the vein pattern in the leaf is, flowers, fruits, all the stuff I pull in and then use those characteristics of the plant to identify the plant. Then the next step, once I know what the plant is simply go to Google and type in the scientific name of the plant with the words edible behind it. From that, usually I'll see what the internet says, but that's not my only source. So once I see what they say, then it gives me hope that yes, it is edible, or no, it's really poisonous, or no one knows. If it's really poisonous, I double check multiple resources to see if there's, what they say about the poison, and if possible, I try and figure out what molecules are responsible for the poison. But if there's a sign that it's edible, then I retreat to my vast library of books and search through historical records, ethnobotany, lots of edible plant books from not just here, but all over the world. Is one of the things. Hey, Joe, glad you made it. Hey, Don, glad you made it. Hey, David, glad you made it. Back to me. Sorry. Like I said, it's where ego and technology meet. Anyway, so after going through my research library and seeing what's found there and so forth, I decide, okay, am I going to try it? Am I not going to try it? Now, there are a number of plants that some people say are poisonous, some people say are safe, and how do I decide between those? Basically, what I do is I eat it. So far, so good. I'm still here. I suspect I have the liver the size of a battleship, as he stops to take a drink. But anyway, so far, so good. If there is a question, a large question about toxicity, usually I will not include the plant in my classes or on the Foraging Texas website, simply because there are lawyers in the world. And the last thing I need is 10 years from now, someone to get cancer and die, and they blame it to a mushroom they ate or something like that that they think they might have seen on Foraging Texas. Like they say, there's no such thing as an old, bold forager. There's nothing so much as an old, bold, playing it safe legally foraging instructor. Okay, let's see. Hey, let's see. Saw a squirrel eat some. Oh, yeah. Question. A lot of people say if, a certain animal can eat it, can I eat it? And the answer is no. Really, the only animal that has a really similar digestive tract to a human that, is 90-some% the same would be a pig. And if you've ever seen a pig eat, they will eat some pretty disgusting stuff even then. So really don't use an animal as your spiritual food guide. Deborah is asking about green bean. Yes, green bean is awesome. In fact, green bean, Sam Thayer, Pascal Baldur, Karen Stephenson, a bunch of different people. We all have some behind the scenes foraging instructor connections, and we'll bounce ideas off. Christy, hi Christy, love your posts and insight. Wish we could photo walk. Keep sharing. Hey, don't forget, Christy, to check. I also do a number of free walks at different nature fests and so forth. In November, I will be at the Pioneer Days at Jesse H. Jones Nature Center in Park, pretending to be someone from the early days of Texas with, the hat and the funky clothes. But I'll have a information boothy thing set up. And then out later in the fall, I'll be at Washington on the Brazos doing a free class out there too. It always seems kind of funky to charge for free information, but then a long time ago, my wife pointed out that it's not free information, it's taking you away from me. So I take that to be a good sign. So you're not paying me, you're paying my wife for time with me, which sounds like prostitution. Okay, anyway, this is why I'm live without a net. South iffy. Southeast Texas. And let me see, let me just reach over to my pile of books. Still reaching. I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books. Okay, I can't find the book I want, but the book is actually called Southwest Foraging by John Slattery. Excellent Southern forager, so that's a really good thing. And also between me and if you follow Green Dean, you'll really get a good idea of what's in the Southeast. The South in general isn't really well represented by foraging books. I don't know why, and it is gathering, or it is growing in book knowledge. Okay. So what should I say about my book? Just a quick word. I know, you know what, this isn't an infomercial. Let's go back to answering questions. Let's see, toxic sago palms. Yeah, I believe if you're familiar with the, I got to make the air quote. Wow, it's weird doing things backwards. Hey, bunny rabbits. Anyway, sago palms, are not true palms. They're a very old plant, like prehistoric plant. And the really cool looking nuts, they're about yay big and kind of reddish orange, and dogs love to chew on them, and it will kill your dog. They are very fatal. So don't feed your dog sago palms. Don't train it to play with them or anything like that. Michael, hello Michael, get your pen and paper. Hey, Nick Blackman. Cool thing about Nick Blackman is, should I tell you? They're one of the sponsors for tonight's show. Wazzu Survival gear. Hey, Nick, check it out. Okay, so back. Lori Capps, I have a book that is waiting on your next one. I have a book waiting on your... okay. Okay, I could say a word about the next book I'm writing. It's the tentative title is called Healing Texas, and it's actually going to be a herbal medicine type book. And you may have seen if you go to the Foraging Texas website, www.foragingtexas. Anyway, you can see it. You will see on this side, right-hand side, that there's a bunch of class listed, and one thing that has been added is medicinal medicinal plant workshops, where you actually work with me and we make a number of different ointments and tinctures and double extractions and stuff like that, and you go home with the stuff in little neat tins. Do I have a tin? Hey, I have a tin. Like little neat tins of stuff, or little bottles too with the little droppers. And usually you get a booklet. You see this one says Common Medicinal Plants. Because of the classes are in different parts of Texas, I actually have several different versions of this pamphlet in the works for the, like the Houston area, the Hill Country area, and wherever someone pays me to come out and teach them. Hint, hint. Okay. Lee Williams. Hi, Lee Williams. Tip for finding mushrooms after the rain. The biggest tip I can give is look down. No, just kidding. Just keep your eyes open. There's all sorts of mushrooms out there. Right now, around in the Houston area, because that's where I am most of the time, there's a lot of different boletes, B-O-L-E-T-E, bolete mushrooms. And there is quite a few members of that genus, and some are quite edible and some are quite very not edible. You don't want to eat them. But that being said, they're usually, once you have a good guide to telling the different boletes apart, they're very easy to tell apart. But it does take some time. You got to really dig deep and examine them. And also you need to do a spore print, which is where you take the cap of the mushroom and set it on a piece of paper overnight and see the color of the spores that fall out. Found some, oh yeah, chanterelles are out right now. If you go to, I think I have them on Foraging Texas. If not, they're in the book. Chanterelles, there's a number of good ones out. They like to hang out around oak trees. Laura Vale mentions she found some growing on a cedar. Word of warning, my usual experience with cedar trees is most of the mushrooms that grow on them are not necessarily edible. When it comes to edible plants and edible mushrooms, there isn't a rule of thumb. The one rule of thumb is there is no rule of thumb. With that in mind, let me give you a rule of thumb. When you're looking at mushrooms, a lot of times the ones on the pine trees, except for the reishi, are generally taking things out that you don't want to eat. So when it comes to eating mushrooms, A, make sure you have it identified. B, make sure you identified it by more than one source. And C, make sure you know what you're doing when you're eating it. Mike Heyman, hey man, how's it going? Magnolia cones. Yeah, you might have noticed right now that the magnolia trees are covered with little red seed berry M&M looking type things, and they're interesting in that there's a big discussion on whether they are edible or not. A lot of people list them as poisonous, but there's also historical records of Native American tribes eating them. The issue is that it was not recorded as to how they prepared them or what they did to them, if there was something special that had to be done, which I believe there was, mainly because in my testing and eating them, they have an interesting thing that when you take the first bite, they have a fairly sweet, pleasant flavor, and then suddenly it tastes like your mouth is filled with gasoline, which I'm assuming is a bad thing. So with that in mind, hey Shannon, back from the boat. With that in mind, I'm wondering, because there is the two very distinct flavors, if there is parts of the seed that are edible and parts that are not. Perhaps like the outer red coating may be edible, whereas the flesh inside is not. I'm still in the process of like dissecting the seeds and trying different bits and seeing what happens, seeing if I can kind of narrow down where the gasoline is coming from. Bethany, okay, and I will apologize if I'm missing your questions. I just kind of go with what happens to be right at eye level when I look over at the thingy. Anyway, Bethany asks, we have passion fruit maypops growing all over. Are there any poisonous fruits that should look like them? Okay, no, there are no poisonous mimics to maypops. Once you've identified the vine with the, I can do it here, kind of like the trident-shaped leaves and the fruit that looks like a bald kiwi, green and tight and about the size and shape of a kiwi, then you have a maypop. Now, the thing about maypop fruit is they're not really fantastic until they get overripe. So when they're green and tight like an overfilled balloon, don't eat them. You want to wait until they're starting to turn yellow and getting a little wrinkly and deflated. At that point, you cut it open and you will see what looks like a bunch of frog's eggs, if you happen to know what frog's eggs look like. Another scientific term for that would be balls of goo, each with a little seed in front of it. So if you're familiar with a pomegranate, how the pomegranates are laid out, it's kind of like that. Hey, Dustin. Kind of like that, where you have a bunch of globular stuff and each one has a seed in it. So the seeds are actually really good toasted. A Puerto Rican friend introduced those to me. I used to just spit out the seeds and spread the passion vines, but she pointed out that no, save the seeds, roast them, they're really good. And she was right. So now my technique for eating a maypop after all that introduction is cut it in half, slurp out the clear goo, use my teeth and tongue to separate the seeds from the goo, put the seeds in a little cup, save those for later to roast, swallow the goo, and then you may notice inside the rind of the maypop, there is, oh, look, camera, there is a white film, a pulp like an orange has. You use your spoon and scrape that out. Now you can just eat it off the spoon, but let me tell you, it has a wonderful sweet tropical flavor. It makes excellent margaritas. Which brings me to my next trick. Okay, so yellow, wrinkly, eat the goo, roast the seeds, scrape out the white stuff. Okay, Janet. Hi, Janet. Have you seen Goldenrod, the aromatic kind that tastes and smells like? I'm assuming, yeah, in fact, ooh, I got quite a bit of it growing in my yard. I wish you could smell this because it smells amazing. If you've never done anything with goldenrod, I highly recommend it. A word of, not warning, but just a word of respect when it comes to goldenrod. If you're not familiar with goldenrod, that's the one in the fall that has the pyramid of gold-colored flowers. Those flowers are usually the last nectar source of bees for the year. And so even though they're plentiful, bees aren't lately. And so the flowers have good medicinal uses and some edibility and so forth, but I leave the flowers for the bees. But all summer long, the leaves are great. I throw them in stir fries. They make an interesting zing-zang sort of thing to my food. I also dry it and make tinctures. From a medicinal point of view, goldenrod is pretty cool in that it is a circulatory system strengthener. And the easiest way to explain it is varicose veins, where blood is leaking out of your capillaries in ways and areas where you don't want it to. Goldenrod has compounds that help strengthen pretty much any tube in your body that needs to keep the fluids in it, or even the tissues. So if you have a runny nose from allergies or colds or something like that, it will even help with runny noses. And like I said, it helps keep the fluids tight in the system, the hydraulic system, if you will, of whatever member of the body it happens to need high pressure. There's a joke about Goldenrod, but I'm trying to keep this PG-13, but just look it up. Okay, who else do we have here? Michael Tomek. Should I be worried about soil toxicity for reishi found in my front yard, Spring Branch area? Easy answer, no. The mushrooms are really, really, really amazing. And one of the things they're really good at is breaking down a lot of toxic molecules and rendering them safe. Paul Stamets has done some amazing work showing how oil-contaminated soil can be remediated by oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms will eat the crude oil, break it down, and grow. More recently, some other cool research that I found, and I've been meaning to share it for a while, is there's been several studies now looking at, because of the big influence of foragers and so forth, there's been a number of studies looking at the, if wild edible plants are sucking bad things out of the soils in cities. Currently, to my knowledge, they've looked at wild edible plants in Boston and up in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Now, neither are huge hotbeds of chemical plant type stuff like Houston, but even so, up in the Spring Branch, you should be okay. But the really cool thing about the articles is they found no sign of any toxicity in these urban harvested wild edibles. So they're really saying that's something people should be looking more into. Andrea Scott, I saw that consuming it may have ill effects on the kidneys as it will convert into ulcerate. I tasted some. Oh, okay. I'm assuming, Andrea, you are talking about wood sorrel. And let me get back to wood sorrel, but now I need to try something kind of cool, which is a word from our sponsor. So if you just bear with me, I want to see if this works. Hold on. All right, I hope you heard that pre-recorded thing from Wazzu Survival. Okay, so now we're going back to Andrea's question about wood sorrel. Wood sorrel contains a chemical called oxalic acid, which is the source of the tangy, lemony sort of flavor. Now, the issue is if you eat lots and lots and lots of oxalic acid, one of the things oxalic acid likes to do is it likes to combine with calcium. And once it combines with calcium, it does not like staying dissolved in water or blood or any other fluid, really. So it ends up precipitating out in your kidneys to form kidney stones that are kind of nasty. I should state, though, that this is a theoretical issue. I've found no medical records where they've actually traced it down to anything like that. But going back to the early part of the show when I mentioned lawyers and being safe, generally all us foraging instructors will mention that don't eat large gobs of wood sorrel, just to avoid that. Also, when you are eating wood sorrel, make sure you're not dehydrated to begin with. Drink plenty of fluids, and you'll be fine. Ooh, Alex Gomez, we loved your beer from Vista Brewing up in Austin. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you. It was, all I did was recommend the plants to give the flavors. The brewmasters and Ken and Karen there were the ones that did all the hard, heavy working, because taste testing isn't really hard and heavy. And I will mention I will be up in Vista Brewing October 13th. I'll be doing a medicinal workshop. And also, I guess now because of demand, they have me doing 3 plant walks. Hey, what can I say? Okay, Wazzu Survival location, Wazzu, and I was going to save this for later, but we'll put it here. Let's see. So, Wazzu Survival gear. This is where you want to get. Now, Nick Blackman is putting it up there. I will also say that they are created by NASA engineers that also think Earth still needs exploration too, which is pretty damn awesome. Okay, whoa, Oregon. Okay, hi. Asking, do I do the Birdie area? I'm not sure where that is. Sorry, but I teach up in Dallas. I teach out in the hill country, and I'm working on doing some classes out way out west in the Big Bend area. Hi, Jamie. I am finding turkey tails growing in open sand. And no, if you are finding turkey tails growing in open sand, that is not a turkey tail. Turkey tails are strictly decomposers of dead wood. The only possible thing that it could result in this is if there is some big old roots just under the surface of the sand. But even then, send me a picture of these mushrooms, because I can't even think of any of the polypore family that would grow in a sand area. So I'm very, very intrigued by this. Oh, Laura Vale asking if the beer from Vista. No. Thank you, Texas Alcohol Bureau, whatever, TABC, TBAC, whatever. It's only available there at the brewery. Hey, Kenneth Coleman. He is my supplier of all things related to bees. So if you're in one of my medicinal plant classes with honey, that's the man that supplied the honey and the wax. All right, I'm going to scroll up, see. Oh, hey, Mark Wasco, another person I've known for a long, long time. Hey, Mark. We go back to our, wow, actually, Equipped to Survive days, and then Zombie Squad and Still Together. Cool. Have you seen, let's see, Goldenrod blooming. Okay, do we have another question? Let's see. Okay, they were wet now in the rain. When are you coming to Austin? I will be up in Driftwood October 13th. I want to point out, hey, now's a good time to pop over here. Hey, here's my website, Foraging Texas. Okay, a thing about Foraging Texas. If you've never been there, A, why not? And B, you are in for a treat. So if you look at it, you will see on the left-hand side a column labeled Edible Wild Plants. There are over 219 wild edible plants currently listed. Let's just click on bastard cabbage. What do you see? You see pictures of the plant. You see closer and closer. You see close-ups of the flowers. You see close-up of the seed pods. You see the stem. You see the leaf. You see different parts of the plant at different times. You see a map of where in Texas. The blue is where in Texas you are likely to find it. I would like to say one thing about these maps. These maps are made by your government, and so trust them accordingly. They are made basically when a government worker is out somewhere doing something else and notices a particular plant, they are supposed to, when they get back to the office, add it to the list of counties and check on it, but frankly, it's not up to date. Think of these maps as guidelines rather than actual, set in stone. This is where you will find the plant and where you will not find the plant. I tell most people when you're looking at these maps, include the counties around the colored in counties. And then if for some reason you decide to leave leave Texas, you can also see what other states and Canadian provinces and Hawaii, hello Hawaii, you'll find it. Then there's all sorts of information, how to use it, how to identify, when to find it. You'll see right up at the very top, I'll scroll back up to the top, just a brief introduction, scientific name, abundance. Let me talk about abundance. Abundance is my gift to the world. Wow, that sounds bad. Let me explain better, because that sounded even egotistical for me. Every plant on Foraging Texas, the second thing you see is the abundance code. Is it invasive? Is it plentiful? Is it common? Is it uncommon? Is it rare? Is it endangered? And that abundance code tells you how much of the plant you can take. For instance, with bastard cabbage, it is invasive. And most of you who have taken my class have heard this joke many times, but you're going to get it anyway. Invasive means not only take all you want, but keep taking it. Take it all. Take as much as you can. And then that night, do what we back in Minnesota used to call the zucchini trick. Where in Minnesota, when you raise zucchini, you don't get just a few zucchini squash. You get thousands of them. And so in the middle of the night, you will see people sneaking bags of zucchini to their neighbor's doorsteps. So the next morning, when the neighbor comes out to get their mail or their newspapery thing, there is a wonderful bag of zucchini just waiting for them to throw in their compost. Do the same with the invasive. Okay, other things, what parts of the plant you eat, how do you eat the parts, where do you find it, when do you find it, what nutritional values, and if there's any dangers you should be made aware of. Also, way over on the right-hand side, there is upcoming classes. So like the plant walk at the Houston Arboretum was just this Sunday, filled out class. But then we got a medicinal workshop coming up on September 2nd, which I believe, according to the sponsor, is already sold out. And then a really cool thing we're doing now up at Cato Mounds. I've been teaching at the Cato Mounds Historic Site for, wow, 5 years, something like that, a long time. And not only are we doing a plant walk, but then we're going to take what we harvested and go cook a meal. This is going to be a 6-hour class. And if this is the first time you're learning about it, again, that's kind of problematic because it is also booked out. What can I say? People like free food. So, but we have plenty of more classes coming up at the Arboretum, the Vista Brewing in Driftwood, Texas, which is kind of between Austin and San Antonio, October 13th. Multiple classes for them. October 27th, they'll be up in Montgomery, Texas. Jesse H. Jones Pioneer Days, foraging classes, foraging, lots of stuff, lots of chances to see me live. Like live, not across here live. I also should just like to mention that this whole Merriwether's World, Merriwether's World, I'm hoping to make this a weekly event. So Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 Central Time, Oregon. Thank you for coming in. You can just look at Oregon. Well, it'd be, what, 2 hours ahead of Oregon. But everyone else, I believe, would be here in this time zone. So come see me. Just a teaser. Next week, I'm going to do a special presentation on edible landscaping, specifically for the hill country people. If you follow me on Facebook, a lot of my stuff, because I'm based in Houston, a lot of the plants that I'm posting are Houston based, but the hill country is really its own ecosystem. And when I get out there, the next 2 weeks are usually plants I took pictures of out there, but as a, hey, hill country sort of thing, next week's presentation will be setting up edible landscaping plants in your yard, which is excellent if you're worried about zombies coming. Tricia, so excited about all you do. And you don't know all that I do. The things I got going on behind the scenes that I can't wait to show you guys is really, really cool. Just as a teaser, one word, chainsaws. Okay, Tina Marie, smartweed, please. Does that mean you want me to talk about smartweed? Because I can talk about smartweed. Smartweed, we're actually getting close to the end of the year for smartweed. But smartweed is a wonderful wet area plant. If you have kind of a ditch or a, a ditch or a pond or something like that, someplace that's always wet, there's a good chance you have one of the multiple species of smartweed in Texas. Now, the really cool thing about smartweed is it's kind of unique in that it contains the same capsaicin hot, spicy molecule that's found in hot peppers. So let me just scroll in here. Here's a good picture of it. Smartweed, so look for it in wet areas. And if you see something, most of the summer, it will have this strange stalk of tiny white flowers. Each one of those white flowers is about the size of the point of a pencil. It has alternating lancet leaves, so the leaves are shaped like spears. And they kind of, let me see if I can do this. This backwards thing is hard. Okay, so here then here, and here, and here, like zigzag, as opposed to being directly opposite each other. Okay, so how I use this is just anywhere I would use hot pepper for that hot, spicy sort of flavor. The interesting thing is it takes a second or two of chewing before that flavor hits you because the molecule has to react some with water and oxygen. Speaking of water, oops, got a nice cube. You're going to hear some crunching. Okay. One of the things, so hot, spicy, use it like a pepper. One of the things I'm experimenting with is using it in a pain relieving ointment because the capsaicin, the hot molecule of pepper, has this really cool effect that it overpowers nerves and basically uses up their ability to signal. So a lot of people with chronic pain are prescribed basically a mixture of Vaseline and hot red peppers powder to rub on their pained areas. And so in the 22nd, yeah, the class coming up for Spear Survival, we'll be making one using hot pepper. Seeing if I had it, I don't have it within reach because I still haven't figured out if the smartweed has enough or what I have to do to the smartweed to get the concentration to make it really effective. Wow, I'm actually starting to lose my voice. Pardon me a second. But I only have 24 minutes, so hey, I think I can keep going. All right, let's go back. Where is it? Okay. Bastard, can I take all of it, please? So Tina Marie wasn't so much asking about smartweed, she was asking people to come and get it. I say, Tina, offer it up for sale. Dried smartweed works just as well as the fresh stuff. Kevin Rust, I'm all in on the chainsaws. Okay, let me add a second word to the chainsaw. Actually, I guess it'd be two words. Environmentally friendly. Now you're asking yourself, what is an environmentally friendly chainsaw? You'll just have to wait. Okay, I have to smartweed, have to make some, oh yeah, Mark Wasco. So smartweed, yeah, if you don't like hot stuff and you look at this leaf and go, how hot can this be? It can be really, really hot. Kind of entertaining. John Caps, yes, chainsaws. It's really, really cool. All right. Iliax decidua, be harvested and used like Iliax vomitoria. When is the ideal time to harvest? So Iliax decidua, or the deciduous holly, also known as the possum holly, don't bother. The only holly really worth harvesting is the Iliax vomitoria. Ignore the name, even though it means the holly which makes you throw up. Long story. Don't eat the berries, but the leaves are the only naturally occurring source of caffeine that grows here in Texas. So the leaves of the Iliax vomitoria, the Yaupon holly, can be harvested any time of the year. Now here's the secret that a lot of people don't tell you about plants in general. If you are using a plant where you are after something that's inside the plant cells, you need to break the plant cells open. Now, obviously, this sounds obvious because usually you're eating it. But if you are making a tea or a tincture or an extraction or something where you are taking the plant and soaking it in something to extract the insides of the cell, if you just take the green leaf and drop it in your vodka or your hot water, you're not going to get a lot of stuff out of it. Because remember, the plants have a cell wall, a hard, rigid structure around each cell that holds everything inside and keeps everything outside. So if you just take that and drop it in hot water, all that stuff inside here can't get out. So, but there's a trick. Now, if you take, say, the Yaupon holly leaves and hang them and let them dry for about 2 weeks, the last thing a plant does when it realizes, oh crap, I'm dead, is it triggers a series of enzymes whose purpose is to start drilling holes through that cell wall. The purpose of this is to help break the plant down to release the nutrients down into the soil so other plants can use them. So by taking the plant and just letting it dry and age for 2 weeks, you will allow those enzymes to break through the cell wall, and then when you make a tea out of it, you'll have a much better flavor, much better effect, much better, you'll be getting all the caffeine and all the antioxidants and all the other good things out of the plant out. So really, folks, always age your herbs. And I was just handed a note saying, can I say hi at some point? And if you're wondering who handed me the note, it would be my daughter, who wants to say hi. So if no one objects, come on in. This is Merriwether. When you hear me talking about Merriwether, crouch down a little. You're too tall. This is my older daughter. And I'd just like to point out that she has a very good sense of self-worth. And if anything is thinking anything stupid about her, not only will she stop you, but I am her dog on a chain. I won't do anything until she says, go do something, because she's in charge of her life. But if she says, go do something, something will be done. Okay. I think she's done. Okay. All right. Okay, best time to harvest the Yaupon holly leaves. Really, any time is good. They are an evergreen plant, so they always will have leaves. They're constantly replacing leaves. They're constantly dropping leaves. So I've really never found any special time of year to be better than another. All right. Hey, Kevin. Okay, yeah, Kevin said, thank God she took after her mom. Yeah, she wouldn't look good with facial hair. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see, milkweed topical and chronic pain. Okay, Trish is asking about the toothache tree for chronic pain. Toothache tree has a naturally acting Novocaine sort of molecule that works really good on soft tissues that are filled with lots of blood vessels. So, your gums, it works really well. And then basically 1 or 2 other places on the body. I'll let you figure that one out. But as far as a topical pain relief, not so much. I know Sam Kaufman makes an ointment out of it for use in that way. But my experience is things still hurt after that. So I use it just for oral stuff. The side note, a tincture of the prickly ash, aka toothache tree, aka Hercules club, that is a sweat inducer among things. So if you need to, if you're coming down with a cold or something and you want to get your fever up, you want to, induce a fever, frankly, the toothache tree tincture is pretty good at that. Or being in Texas, step outside for 10 minutes. All right. Hey, Doreen Leppa. I quite believe she is I don't want to say the oldest person on here because she's not the oldest, but the person I've known the longest. Just to put things in perspective, Doreen and I went to kindergarten together. And at some point, I'm going to bring her to talk about her really cool business, even though she's up in Minnesota, where we're from. She's involved with Texas wines. Okay, Trish, the tincture works good for mosquito bites. I'm assuming you mean the toothache tree. Cool, I'll have to try that. There's a number of different plants I use for insect bites. This time of year, I use the dog fennel. But interestingly enough, mosquitoes don't like me. Recently, the class on just this Sunday over at the Arboretum, we ran out of time before we ran out of plants. But so we only had time for one question at the end of the class. And that question was, by vote of the class, why aren't you being bitten by mosquitoes? And frankly, I did not even notice there was mosquitoes there, but everyone else apparently was covered with them. I eat a lot of wild foods. I eat a lot of weird stuff. I eat a lot of onions and garlic, which has some mosquito repellent things. But none of those really seemed like the thing that would be what would keep mosquitoes just from biting me without me doing anything. But then I thought about it and did some research. And every day I eat a handful of almonds. Almonds, not wild ones. They're bought from the store. But they have some really, really good health benefits as far as good minerals and lots of just good chemistry going on in an almond. So I am not a spokesperson for the almond industry, but if there's an almond industry person out there looking for a spokesperson, I raise my hand. That being said, almond oil is used in a number of insect repellent formulas, so maybe it's just the fact that I eat a lot of almonds keeps the mosquitoes away. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie Walker says, love your work. It's always good to hear that. The Foraging Texas is a labor of love. There are tens of thousands of hours devoted to the creation and maintaining of this. Scary, but it's my little way of trying to become immortal without a really weird lab accident. Okay, Doreen, raw or roasted? I need to think, raw or roasted what? Type in what, raw or roasted, because the short-term memory, this is all stream of conscious, and so knowing what I'm talking about 30 seconds ago won't happen until I go and rewind the tape and watch myself and go, oh my God. Anyway, raw, oh, almonds, raw. I mean, they're fine roasted, and on weekends I will splurge and I will throw a bunch in a cast iron pan and roast them myself. But normally I just get the raw almonds. Okay. Thank you, Tina Marie. She's my biggest fan. That doesn't stop me to go to a bed and break my ankles. Is Mark in? Hey. Okay, someone was paying attention. Wait, what? No, okay. I just wanted to make sure I read that right. No, I'm not in bed with that. I work as a consultant for a number of cool companies besides my real day job. And I will mention that I am looking for sponsors, which is a really good time to go to sponsor. So now whoops, that's not it. Go away. Here we go. Sorry, a word from our sponsor. So I just want to point out that if you don't like running gags, you're not going to like Merriwether's World. If you like Merriwether's World, tell your friends. If you don't like Merriwether's World, tell your enemies. But tell someone. My goal is actually to be picked up by, say, the Discovery Channel or something like that. If not, so be it. I'm still here. Wednesday nights, 8 to 9. Stephanie just tried sumac lemonade this year. Good stuff. Actually, I use a lot of sumac. I have sumac drying. That sumac is going to be used at the Cato Mounds cooking foraging class, actually. All right. Good question. Volume didn't come through. Just to go back to the sponsor for a second, he said word because it was a word from our sponsor. Get used to that. Okay, back to Julie's question about the winged sumac or sumac in general in response to these rains. Yeah, that's a problem because the really tasty compounds on the sumac are on the surface of the berries and it is water soluble. And so heavy rains will wash the flavor off and you will just have red berries with no real use. Well, I guess they're pretty and birds eat them. So, okay, no use for making lemonade or seasoning lamb or fish or chicken or things like that because the flavor will be gone. And unfortunately, the flavor won't come back. It's pretty much gone at this time of year if the heavy rains come. Okay, Ryan Jackson, I had an echinacea tincture aging since May, but it doesn't seem as potent as I expected. Should I have let the roots dry beforehand? Quick answer, yes. This goes back to the whole giving the cell walls time to break apart so all the good chemicals can get out of the cell. Now, here's a secret tip. If you want to tincture a fresh plant, put it in Everclear. So the 190 proofs, 180? Yeah, the almost pure alcohol. Because it has enough, well, the alcohol concentration will be so much that the osmotic pressure inside the cells, the desire of the water inside the cells to get out into that alcohol, is quite often enough to rupture the cells. So the cells will rupture and release all the good stuff, and the water in it will dilute the concentrated, the Everclear down to the 40–50% alcohol you need to keep it shelf stable. Okay, Stephanie Walker, can you plant the seeds after steeping? That's a good question. I would suspect you could. I would break open the sumac seeds break open the sumac berries to get to the seeds inside, and then plant those. Oops, knocked the microphone. Oh, so this is my cool microphone, sent to me by Tina Marie. Like I keep saying, hey, there she is, Tina Marie. She gave me the microphone. And then I also have another little cool thing over here that another person helped me get a second camera. So I can do cool things like this. I can show my Wazzu Survival stuff, and I can swing this around, and we can get visual feedback. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I'm like a 12-year-old boy trapped in a 50-year-old body. And I'm back. Okay, cool. All right, wow, 8:51. I've been talking for 51 minutes now. Kind of cool. Actually, I guess there was that music at the beginning. Oh well, but I've been talking for a while. I was driving home. I like live on the north side of town, work on the south side of Houston. It's a long drive. And I was thinking someday what I want to do is do a Memorial Day telethon where I just sit here for as long as I can stay awake and babble. I'm thinking that would be entertaining. Okay, Nick, wow, I need to give you some pointers on this multi-camera live stuff. I need to get some pointers. The trick is having the right software for running all this stuff. Which is pretty cool. When I mentioned I was going to do Facebook Live, I just pictured looking at my little camera here on the iMac and yelling really loudly at my computer. And then a person introduced me to the OBS software for streaming. It's like this entire studio. I used to work back in high school at a public access TV studio. Hey, Bo is here. Bo is cool. Bo is another one of these superheroes that does really cool stuff. That also has done like cool projects with Wazzu Survival. Where was I? Wow, short-term memory, not so good. Okay, anyway. Oh, OBS software. Yes, thank you. Yeah, OBS is free. Free is good because I have no sponsors except for Wazzu Survival and then a few others that I'm working on. But it allows you to do all sorts of different things. You can cut to different cameras and different music. There's a few glitches you got to work out. You might notice it has a problem broadcasting the sound from pre-recorded video. So I have to take the microphone and stick it close to the speaker, but you saw that doesn't work. Okay, Julie Gracie, should I do anything in my dewberry patch to increase production next year? Yes, here's the secret about dewberries and blackberries. An individual cane or vine will only produce berries once, so only 1 year. The following years, it will still be there, but it'll be in your way of getting the berries. So what I tell people, when you are harvesting blackberries or dewberries, when you're done taking the berries, all the berries off the cane or the vine, cut at least 25% and ideally 50% of those canes. Just get them out of there so they're not in your way the following year. The dewberries and blackberries, they will make more canes the next year. So you are not impacting, wow, when I do this, my face moves really fast. You are not impacting the growth of the plant at all. But if you're cautious, do 25, but really you can go up to 50. And the next year, you'll just have easier access getting to the dewberries. Stephanie Walker, where is the best place to find wild pawpaw trees in East Texas currently? I will tell you right now, East Texas. You are not allowed to harvest them at the Martin Dyes Jr. State Park, but that park is loaded with them. Pawpaws, they like the deeper woods. They don't do well in full sun. They'll do okay in partial sun, but any of the deeper East Texas woods, they are all over the place. Jasper and Tyler and Palestine and all the woods around there are surprisingly loaded with pawpaw. Okay, we are coming down to the end of the show, so what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about this sponsor, Wazzu Survival, because they were kind enough to be my friends for a long, long time now, and I have a great deal of respect for these guys. As I mentioned earlier, they are NASA engineers that decided the Earth needs more exploration too. And they have all sorts of cool gear, including, oh, I can show you this. They actually recently got a patent on, wow, this backwards stuff. I don't know how weather people do that. Okay, what this is this tip here is a fire steel, which means when you scrape it with this ceramic scraper, it will throw sparks that you can then use to catch or start a fire. And then, of course, the traditional paracord with the compass, things like that. Little signal mirror so you can signal people. And they were even so kind as to put my logo on it. Other things they have still in the fire, whoops. They have this cool necklace, which knocks my glasses off, which doesn't look like anything on a black shirt. So let me take that off again. But what this is a very small fire steel, which, and my wife isn't here, and let me move this microphone, and I hope this, so you got to hold it just right. So if you can see, I got the striker, the fire, wow, this is hard. Okay, so we got the striker and the fire steel, and you just, oops, kind of, ooh. Okay, don't start your microphone on fire, but it's a striker that you can wear, and people just think it's this cool, like, tribal necklace. Speaking of tribal, if you're into Vikings, they have the Viking whetstone necklace. Now, this, they have a smaller version now, but this is your basic sharpening stone. I personally did what I call the Merriwether modification, where after I'm done sharpening my knife, I can stroke it on a piece of leather. And Dustin was kind enough to untie this really complicated knot system and retie it with this piece of leather on there. I keep telling them they need to sell this modification. Maybe they will listen to me. Okay, 2 more minutes. Another thing they have is a cap. Now you're going, okay, a cap. What's so cool about a cap? This is a cool cap because it's a secret cap. It has hidden pockets, and you can keep things in these hidden pockets. And I'm trying to get the light. So you can have this big pocket here. It has multiple pockets inside. You just have to trust me. It has pockets on, you know, big U-shaped pocket here. And if I can get it out, oh. So like in, wow, this, I'm going to have to like sit here in front of a mirror and practice stuff. But, well, it's hard to see. But this is a super sharp ceramic knife, folding knife, that was designed to fit inside here. But it's a little tight, so it takes a little doing to get out. But, you know, an emergency situation, you, if nothing else, you just tear it open. Okay. Neat thing about ceramic knives is they are infinitely more sharper than steel. The reason I can use infinitely in this case as a scientific term is because with the ceramic, they basically can be sharpened down to 1 molecule thick for the edge, whereas metal will still be angstroms and angstroms across. Okay, so where you can find this stuff, again, go to wazzusurvivalgear.com. They have all sorts of really cool stuff, really high quality stuff. My wife refuses to let me go out in the woods at least 9 out of 10 times without making sure I have my Wazzu survival gear with me, because she generally wants me to come back. Okay, wow, 8:59. We're almost done with the show. This is astounding, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. I can't believe this. Yeah, Nick Blackman. Yeah, I need to use it more often. But it's like my last ditch effort knife. Okay, so at this moment, I'm going to say goodbye. I feel like I should have some like parting words or something at here. So really, let me just throw this out there. And it's simply this. Something I've learned in all my hundreds of classes and thousands of people I've encountered is everyone is fascinating. Everyone is fascinating. You just have to ask the right questions. So my advice to you now is just ask questions about everything. All right. Thank you. It has been awesome. I can't wait to see you next week. Same plant time, same plant place. Of course, I had to say that. Good night, everyone.